In this video, we'll be making spicy smoked ribs on the Blaze Kamado. We'll get started by making the rub. In a mixing bowl, add some kosher salt, black pepper, brown sugar, garlic powder, chili powder, paprika, ground cumin, ground coriander, ground cardamom, rubbed sage, dried ground orange peel, a little cayenne pepper for a spicy kick, and some tapioca starch. Mix the rub together well, then it's time to get these ribs seasoned to give them a great bark. Today I have 3 racks of St. Louis style ribs. Just make sure to coat all sides liberally with the rub, and it'll be time to get the Blaze Kamado set up. For the water pan, I like to add Aromatics so that the added moisture also adds some flavor while the ribs cook. I'll start by adding the juice of 3 oranges. Make sure to toss in the orange peel as well. Next up, I have 4 sprigs of rosemary. And because we'll be adding whiskey to the glaze later, why not pour a little whiskey in as well? I have my Blaze Kamado loaded with natural lump charcoal, and on top of that, I'll add 5 chunks of cherry wood. To get the fire lit for low and slow, I like to get 2 handfuls of charcoal glowing in a chimney starter and pour them over the unlit coals. Now I'll place the middle grate in the Kamado, followed by a heat deflector stone. Place the water pan on the heat deflector, and it's time to place in the top cooking grid. I have the ribs lying in a standing rib rack with space in between them so that it'll make it a little easier when glazing later. It'll also allow the smoke to evenly surround the ribs. Close the lid and allow your Blaze Kamado to preheat and stabilize to around 225 degrees Fahrenheit. This is what my vent settings look like for smoking temperatures. You can begin with wider settings and dial them down as you approach your target temperature. For the glaze that we'll use towards the end of the cook, grab a saucepan and pour in your favorite whiskey. Place over medium heat and let it reduce by about half. Once reduced, we'll pour in a little cane syrup. Mix well to incorporate, then finish off the glaze with some diced unsalted butter. Remove from the heat when the butter is almost completely melted and set aside until it's time to glaze the ribs. Our ribs have been smoking for about 3.5 hours and they're looking incredible. I'll go ahead and baste them with some of our whiskey cane syrup glaze. Just look at that beautiful bark. When the smokiness of the ribs meets that whiskey, it's really a match made in heaven. After you have all sides well coated in the glaze, close the lid and let the ribs go for about another 30 minutes. We're now about 4 hours in. They're looking pretty tender. I'll glaze them one last time and let them go for another 30 minutes to let the glaze caramelize. Don't worry if your ribs are not as tender as you want them at this point. Just let them smoke a little longer. Ribs don't always adhere to a formula of time. Great barbecue is certainly a test of one's patience. I'm trying my best not to dig in right now. For the final 30 minutes, I like to bring the heat up to around 325. This will work wonders for the glaze. All right, our ribs are looking like they're ready to come off the grill. Tent them with foil and allow them to rest for 10 to 15 minutes before slicing. Let's get these ribs sliced. Beautiful. They have a nice smoke ring, a healthy bark, and they look tender and juicy.